Okay, so in front of us today is an FT101ZD, and one of the things that's really nice about it is it actually does have the ZD. A lot of them that are ZDs don't actually have the D there. They're actually just a FT101Z. They've either had the module, the display module retrofitted to an FT101Z, or there were quite a number of ZDs that did come out as just Zs on the plates. So anyway, all good. So what have we got a problem with this one? Nothing really, except for I was about to actually offer this one up for sale because it's one of our spares. I've got a this is a Mark 3, by the way. So the Mark 3 is a really nice radio. It's the latest of the ZD series, and probably, you know, if you're chasing a Yaesu FT101Z series, if you can get a ZD Mark 3 with the D on there, is the way to go. So what did I find a problem with this one? Unfortunately, just before it goes to sale, it transmits, it receives. We'll go through that in a second, but the thing that was an issue, as I went through the bands, I'm sitting here going, oh, beautiful, you know, 160, etc. And I came back through, and I'm pretty happy, 10 megs, all the WARC bands, of course, etc. 12 meters. And I went, whoops, and this is a problem. And it's not just a problem for the fact that it's illegal. It's a problem because this is a very historic radio that that seriously has a lot of significance as a Mark III ZD, not just for the lettering, but it is something that is becoming very rare. And I don't know about you, but you know, if you're buying yourself a ham radio and you're going to put all the bits and pieces to it, you want that 28 490 ability. Now, people will argue that, you know, if I've got the bloody calibrate on, I'll turn that off in a minute. Don't worry about that too much for the second. Now, people will argue that you can still get down to 490 here by doing it this way. But my complaint with that is, number one, it's not as per spec. Number two, that the often you'll get somebody that will say, look, you know, go down to 28 390, 370. The bands might be busy, not recently, to be fair, but you know, and you won't have that ability anyway. So let me show you. I'm just going to turn the radio off for a second. Now, I've already actually got the screws out of this. When you're trying to get a Yaesu, any of the 101 series, you're back to standard, you really are going over to this little board on the side here. Now, I'll just pull that for a moment and I'll show you the difference of what actually happens here. So as you can see, you've got 10D, 10C, I've got to read that, 10B, and then you've got 41.4875, which of course, unfortunately, that's our culprit. Now let me just show you a board that luckily I own a few FT101s. And we're going to do it the cheats way. I mean, I could change the crystal over. It's no big deal. But as you can see, this one has the 10A crystal in it, and 10B, 10C, 10D. Why somebody, you know, sort of takes out the 10A position, I never understand. I sort of think, look, as much as it probably doesn't, you know, suit everybody, why not take out the 10D and chuck it out there if you're going to do something? But, you know, even then, you know, this radio is capable of FM. So, you know, 29.6, you still want those areas. So, you know, my suggestion is not to change the crystals at all. So, theoretically, just imagine that I'm going to take this crystal, put it into that board, but I'm not, because I'm just going to put this board into this radio, and let's just see what the difference is straight away. All right, so a couple of things to note. You've got two screws, one screw here, and there's an earth screw down the bottom here, without electrocuting myself. So basically those two screws come out, and the culprit board we've pulled for the moment. As I said, you don't need to do what I'm doing here. You could just pull this crystal out, put the other crystal in. If I had a spare 10A crystal right now, which, look, I may have, I just need to go through my millions of crystals. As I said, it was just easier to get a board out of another 101 here to get this one up and, you know, sort of ready for sale. And look, that's the point. Is that if you're selling something these days, be a little bit cautious. This is not 5 years ago. There's a lot of changes that have come in. Sorry about that. Ever since the airline situation down in Melbourne with our smart person that decided to transmit and cause a lot of issues to the airwaves bands, the conformance of radios and who's got them and why we've got them has changed. And, you know, look, I'm no expert on the law here, but what I can tell you is that, you know, ACMA are not going to pull punches here. So, you know, getting it right and selling your equipment to the right person is, you know, becoming more and more important. So, enough of my sermon, but please take it seriously. It is true. And if I'm doing it, trust me, someone might have spoken to me. You don't know, do you? And maybe it was time for us to tighten up some things too. Okay, so we've put the board in. Oh my God, look at that. 28 megs. Now, because I've stolen a board, I won't even need to net that crystal or do anything with it. It'll be fine, and it will work well. Now, that's really what you want to do. Now, so don't be disturbed that it's 27 megs there. Of course, the band is basically 28 to 28.5. Let me just find the calibrate for a second. I'll just turn that off. It's annoying me now. I was looking for the calibrate position. I'm not looking for a calibrate. I'm looking for the mark. Okay, so basically, there's your mark there. And there it's gone. Okay, the mark is used more for the non-digitals, you know, or for calibrating. But okay, so now we've got a crystal in there that, yes, goes down to 27.954, etc. Now, here's the common sense approach. ACMA are not out there trying to take down every person that's got a radio that goes in a 500 to 550, 580 kilohertz, you know, just above and below the band. There's many examples of that in so many different radios. I mean, the band split on 20 meters, you know, is not the whole 500 kcs. The radio does transmit the whole 500 kcs. Common sense prevails. You know, there's definitely some leniency to you know, people are just expected to use their common sense. Okay, so now we've got this spreading all the way up. I'll just go all the way up here to show that, yep, up to 5.2, 5,200. So 520, I'll be right. But let's just go to 490 just because it's a lovely little spot to put it. 490 being the upper sideband SSB spot that you would call out on and say howdy to the world and see who's there. Upper sideband would help, so then I'll need to change that frequency again. Basically what we want to do is just inject a signal into this just to make sure that our board changeover and everything is, you know, come up fairly well. Okay, so I'm putting in 0.5 of a microvolt and I can hear this faint noise, which is good. Certainly hearing okay. Let's have a look. Let's put a bit. We'll get to the meter. Here we go. Certainly getting a fair bit of signal there, no question about that. And as you noticed, I turned the camera off for a second because I thought, why is the meter not moving? Well, that was easy. AGC was off. The other thing that was on, 10 dB attenuation. Okay, so tricks for new players, you know, and old players too. Okay, so receiver on this is working extremely well. If we go back to 0.5 of a microvolt again, let's have a look. We should have a little bit more noise coming through with the 10 dB attenuation off. And actually, let's put that 10 dB in. Oh yeah, there's 10 dB there, 20 dB, it's gone. Yeah, no, that's listening very, very well, which is nice. Yeah, do remember AGC. Meter won't work without it, but yeah, I'm a big fan of slow AGC on these things. All right, let me just turn that down a bit and we'll get rid of that tone. Okay, so now we've got this actually on 28 megs again, and where it should be. We're just having a bit of a quick look at the transmitter. I haven't overly tuned up. Just want a quick look to hello 1 2 hello. Okay, so we're getting a little bit of low power there, 30 odd 40 watts, something like that. We'll have a bit of a tune up of this and see where that goes. Let's have a look down the band a bit. Now, as you'll notice, and we need to check this because we've replaced an entire board here, so want to make sure that, you know, we don't have any dud crystals anywhere, and we've got no other changes of crystals, etc. But that's looking very good. All right, so let's put it on 40 meters and do a bit of a tune-up. Okay, so very quick tune-up on 40 meters. 111 watts. So, yep, look, where we'd sort of want it to be. These things vary all over the place, to be honest, at their age. They can be, a little bit higher on some bands and a little bit lower on another. But overall, I'd be pretty happy with that. It's hello, 1, 2. Yeah, so torque power, 90, 95, 100 watts, etc. So that's not a bad example. So basically, this is a FT101ZD now that is back to its original state, and the true collector, that's what they're after. The truth. This is the truth. I couldn't sell this to a true collector. Whoops, wrong side. I couldn't sell this to a true collector. Oh, with a 41.4875 crystal in it. He's just not going to be impressed. He's just going to say, well, Brenton, that's lovely. Throw that away and find me one that's got the 10 metre section in it. And of course, that sort of person is going to say, where's the matching crow, matching speaker, matching external VFO, all the bits that you can get. There's so many bits that go with the 101ZD series, the 901 series, etc. We were talking about this on 80 metres. The 901, 101 sort of series, we actually all agreed was the classic collector's lineup. It's the one that everybody should have. If you're going to have just one valve radio lineup, valve output lineup, the FT101ZD or FT901DM is, and we did agree, by the way, the 901DM was probably the super, one to have. But boy, the Mk3 ZD is not too far behind. So it'd be, very much on a par. All right, this one we're going to chuck up, and now we've got it back to standard. Happy to sell this to someone who has a license, enjoys the hobby, and has a bit of fun with amateur radio. And please, if you don't have a license, talk to us about how to get one. Talk to us about what you can do to advance yourself. And but unfortunately, we can't sell it to you unless you've got a license. So please just be aware of that. It's just a new ruling. Every radio we sell goes out with a sheet that basically has a copy of your license and the radio that went to it, serial number, etc. These are the signs of the times, guys. Things are changing. And I'm not going to do ACMA's job for them. They can inform you exactly what's happening out there. But I can tell you what we're doing, sort of to try and make this better, and to make sure that we're filling in the cracks ourselves. So we're making sure that we don't that we comply, I suppose, just like everybody else. So just be cautious. Think about what it is you're doing, and enjoy the hobby. That's the main thing. So anyway, all right, we'll get this up on a couple of sites, and look, pricing I haven't thought of just yet, but look, it is a 101ZD Mk3, and it's going to be sold as is, but hopefully you can see from what we're doing here that it's not looking too bad, that's for sure. Nice example of the era. 7 3s from VK3 Charlie Mike. All the best. Cheers.